let's get to the first one, fam, that just shows what happened, pretty much the scenes, the shots from above. The FBI raided Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. As you can see, the FBI searched Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. And there's the police officers there at the driveway and the lights going off. And next we have, and this is just for the people listening at home, the former U.S. president has been accused of taking classified records to his Florida home, fam. The Trump accused FBI agents of breaking into a safe at his home where they didn't let his lawyers watch. He described the unannounced raid as a prosecutorial misconduct.
Misconduct, yeah.
Thank you so much. I can barely read it, so small. A raid on my house. This was unnecessary and inappropriate. This was terrible. Earlier this year, classified documents were found in about a dozen boxes at Mar-a-Lago, which is something they're going to keep using to justify this raid. The U.S. National Archives and Records Administration recovered the White House papers and told Congress that Trump should have turned over the material upon leaving office. Once again, saying that this is justification for this fucking raid. Trump has said his return of presidential records was an ordinary and routine process. So that's what it's all about. Okay, so go ahead, fam.
They have nothing. They have nothing on him. He was the president at that point. Like Jimmy said, he could have declassified everything.
Yeah.
If he wanted to. He could say, oh, this was all declassified. It was no longer classified. You know, a president can do that. Like, it's just the reason I find this so suspect is the timing, right? Like the timing of all of this happening right now. Guys, Hunter Biden. Yes. Hunter fucking Biden. I mean, we have some videos talking about that a little bit, but Hunter Biden and his ties to not just Burisma, but to the what is it? God, what was the specific company? It escapes my mind right now, but it had to do with the testing of freaking illnesses in Ukraine, like the Medhurst company.
Yes, I know.
Hunter Biden's ties with that. You have Joe Biden's ties to that. You have so many things that the current administration could be faulted for. And now you're just rehashing Donald Trump, right? Because Donald Trump hasn't been president. And you always have these liberals talking about Donald Trump still, right? But Donald Trump hasn't been president for a while. Joe Biden's numbers are horrible. Kamala's numbers are horrible. The Democratic Party's numbers are horrible. I mean, nobody's buying this administration. Nobody's buying this shit anymore. Even the people that were initially like, well, we need to help out Ukraine are starting to be like, well, wait a minute. And the people, when we talked about it with Kim, right? The people that initially bought into the whole COVID bullshit, even now they're like, okay, wait a minute now. Because now when, the mainstream media is talking about it, right? Now that it's safe to talk about it, now, wait a minute. This is all changing. And the narrative is shifting too in Ukraine. They're leaving Zelensky out to dry because people are starting to figure this shit out. So the timing of this is extremely suspect to me with all of that.
Well, a lot of the things they want to continuously do is make sure that he can't run again, because this election coming up in a couple months will mark 2 years away from the next big election that the Democrats are so scared about, and they're scared about this man coming back. Who knows what elections will look like as we get closer to that 2024 time? But then they know that it's going to be under a microscope. The citizens are going to be watching, so they're trying to, whether it be use the January 6th hearings, whether use this whole raid, try to disqualify Donald Trump, the Don, from running in 2024. Here it is, the whole enchilada. Fan pundits wrongfully claim that I, Donald Trump, that my raid could disqualify me from future office. It can't. It's not allowed. They'll never let it happen. And the radical left will win. Fam, the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago has unleashed a familiar euphoria among critics who have longed for agents descending upon the president's residence in a criminal operation. One MSNBC pundit declared that day, the day of the orange jumpsuit may finally be at hand, while another simply exclaimed, hallelujah. Yeah, fam, I was going to look for that the walls are closing in video Because here it is again. The walls are closing in, fam. The walls are closing in. They're going to get Donald Trump. I previously testified in Congress on an earlier seizure of boxes at Mar-a-Lago under the Presidential Records Act, and how criminal prosecutions have been rare under the law. Nevertheless, criminal charges are possible, including under Section 2071, which states that anyone could be prosecuted who willfully and unlawfully conceals, removes, mutilates, obliterates, or destroys any record, proceeding, map, book, paper, document, or other thing filed or disposed,
Deposited.
Is it deposited?
Deposited.
Yeah, in any public office. That crime, however, requires a showing of not just negligence, but that an act is done voluntarily and intentionally with a specific intent to do something the law forbids. It's almost like the Hillary Clinton situation, right? Like what are her intentions? If she destroyed them, with not intentionally knowing that she's destroying records. I think Wanda Sykes is another one when she took the records and destroyed them, but had them on a digital thing. And she's going to claim that they didn't intentionally do anything negligent, right? And that's what they have to prove. They have to prove that they intentionally destroyed something, took something, copied something that didn't belong to them. But I think they just want to make sure that if they have any loose ends behind, that they want them collected. You know what I'm saying? They don't want any more ruckus out there, fam. But that's what they're trying to get him on. And they're trying to say that this raid alone is enough to disqualify him from running as president. No, it's not.
I don't think it is. And before we jump into the next video, I just want to play devil's advocate for a little bit. Is this really to make Trump look bad? Because all it's doing is elevating his profile. It's the same thing like with what Nina Turner did to Jimmy. Calling him a racist in such a ridiculous way just for offering criticism. It's elevating his profile. It's ruining hers. Doing this to Trump, it's elevating his profile, in my opinion. It's really getting his supporters and people who believe he is a threat to the establishment, which we all know he really isn't, to come back and say, see, I told you, Donald Trump is an outsider. He's a threat. He needs blah, blah, blah. So to play devil's advocate here for a second, is this really about making Trump look bad and seeking any sort of like justice and covering it up? Or is it to elevate his profile to once again run on Donald Trump is a fascist and we can't allow him to win in spite of how horrible the Democratic Party is? Because we don't have fair elections, guys. So they have to make people believe that whoever is going to be elected is going to be the legitimate leader. And we wouldn't be where we are right now if Trump hadn't been elected. The election of Trump is what allowed the pushback by the national security state apparatus. It's what allowed the pushback by and the expansion of that apparatus. It's what allowed the expansion of the military industrial complex. And of course, the censorship that we're all facing now, the draconian laws, all of that. Yes, Donald Trump is a problem because he does pose an ugly face of imperialism. However, that ugly face of imperialism is what they use to bring more crackdowns on the public. So in a way, he is still a useful tool for the establishment where they can just pull him out, go after him, ramp up his supporters, and then his support, and then that happens where, oh my God, now you have this rising anti-government sentiment, but it's coming from the right. It's coming from the Donald Trumps, which they can use and say, well, this is fascism, so we're just going to ignore everything else. And I think that's also what's being played here. I don't see it as simple as, oh, we're just going to go after Trump because there's things we want to hide. I think we're going to go after Trump because we know it's going to rile up his base and we can run on that. We can use that to really justify just how horrible and ignore and distract from how horrible this current administration is in order to say, well, we have to defeat fascism, which is exactly the narrative Nina Turner is saying. This is the beginning of defeating fascism. This ridiculous FBI overstepping and playing politics should be something you're worried about. The FBI can now raid anybody at any point, and you have idiots on Twitter saying, well, I don't care if the FBI raids me. And it's like, that's exactly what I'm talking about here. That's that normalization of the expansion of this intelligence, military intelligence blob is being justified because it's Trump. And I think to me, the more dangerous thing with this whole situation than anything Trump versus Biden or any of that stuff, Democrat versus Republican. So that's just my
No, I fam, amen. And, I'm going on RBN later on today, talk with Nick, MMA socialist. I hope we talk about this here a little bit too as well, because the FBI.
Socialist MMA.
Socialist MMA. Do you know what MMA stands for?
I forgot.
Okay, thank you.
I
Bazinga!
I know how to say it correctly. I know how to say it. Mixed martial arts, right? Mixed
martial artist, yes.
Okay.
So, fam, amen on your comments. I hope we get to talk about it later on with Nick, because, I want to talk about the FBI ordering the hit on Fred Hampton, right? And they used to be the Fred Hampton.
Yeah.
So it's just so fucking funny.
Yes, Nina. Yes. She was talking about Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers. I'm like, exactly. What are you talking about? Oh my God.
Like literally sticking up for the people who whacked them. This last sentence too, fam. I just want to put this out there too, once again, because if this is a political hit, it's all about making sure that Donald can't run in 2024. Here it is. However, critics were not particularly interested in whether Trump might have some suspended misdemeanor sentence. Rather, even before learning if any evidence of criminal conduct was found, critics turned to the ability to use the charge to disqualify Trump from future office almost immediately. Section 2071 has excited the imagination of such critics because of a line that states that a convicted party can be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both, and shall forfeit his office and be disqualified from holding any office under the United States, fam. That's what it's about. You want to roll this video?
Yeah, let's roll this RT video. It just summarizes a couple things, and you can see our good friend Caleb talk about a couple things I want to point out. So let's just play it.
People lying under oath repeatedly. Hunter Biden doing crack on tape. And what happens? Where are the federal agents?
You can't imagine this would have ever happened to a Democrat. This is where Americans now begin to ask the question, do we have a dual justice system in America? Is there equal justice under the law?
The raid of Mar-a-Lago is another escalation in the weaponization of federal agencies against the regime's political opponents, while people like Hunter Biden get treated with kids' gloves. How the regime is getting another 87K IRS agents to wield against its adversaries. Banana Republic.
While this was a search warrant that was approved by a judge that was being executed, people are looking on and seeing this as very selective. People are looking at the fact that apparently the reported reason for these raids is somehow that Trump was supposedly misusing classified information. However, we'll recall this scandal involving Hillary Clinton's server, in which all kinds of classified information was put at risk, and she experienced no such raid on her home. People recall Jeffrey Epstein and the allegations about his activities involving minors and prostitution and a sex ring, etc. And how, while he did face prosecution for that, there was no such raid on his home. We did not see a dramatic instance where this billionaire was facing the force of government. And many people are looking at the Hunter Biden scandal, which mainstream media at first dismissed as a conspiracy theory. And then all of the shady dealings that were revealed by Hunter Biden's laptop, showing all kinds of activities the president's son, Joe Biden's son, was engaged in, and saying, where is the justice? You'll recall what CNN's very own Brian Stetler said.
What about Hunter? Hunter under federal investigation. Charges could be coming at any time. This is not just a right-wing media story. This is a real problem for the Bidens.
Well, what do Hunter Biden, Hillary Clinton, and Jeffrey Epstein have in common? they were all Democrats. And apparently that got them immune from this kind of treatment at the hands of law enforcement. However, people are looking at the situation with Donald Trump and saying this could indeed be politically motivated. People are recalling the recent letter from Senator Grassley regarding the FBI and how the FBI disregarded the revelations of Hunter Biden's laptop, even though they turned out to be credible.
Concerns that I have raised for many years about political considerations infecting the decision-making process at the Justice Department and FBI. If these allegations are true and accurate, the Justice Department and FBI are, and have been, institutionally corrupted to their very core, to the point in which the United States Congress and the American people will have no confidence in the equal application of the law.
While there is questions being raised, it appears that this was politically motivated. We're hearing from Donald Trump, who says that the motivation was the fact that he is going to most likely, and it appears there's many indicators that he's going to run for president. And this is intended to prevent him from running for president against Biden in 2024. And Donald Trump sees this as politically motivated, aimed at keeping him from returning to the White House. Many see this as fitting an ongoing pattern of the partisan actions of U.S. law enforcement at the federal level.
Okay, so I want to point out a couple things. I think that was Hannity or one of these right-wingers, right? Does this mean that we have a dual justice system? Yes, we have a dual justice system. We've had a dual justice system long before Republicans figured it out here. We have a dual justice system for the working class and for the fucking billionaire class. Welcome to reality. This has been happening, and now you see that justice system can be extended into being unjust for whoever they deem the current enemy at that point, whether it's Donald Trump tomorrow and somebody else the next day, Russians, next week, like it's been for the past, few months, like it's been for actually years, since the Chinese. So that justice system is ever changing because we don't have a real justice system in the United States. It depends on how much money you have and who you know and how much, power you have. So that's interesting that they're just figuring that out. And I think there is a certain amount of fair criticism to apply to that because there's hypocrisy on both ends. You have the Democrats being hypocritical because they're somehow now cheering on the FBI, and they're completely ignoring all of the corruption in the Biden administration, all the corruption that happened with Democrats, with Clintons and Epstein that was mentioned in this whole thing too. And then you have the hypocrisy of the Republicans where it's the same thing with people like DeSantis. Oh, I support free speech unless it's speech that I don't like. Or I support this, but unless it's people I don't like. And, I want us to not like some of the Republicans, right? Let's not fund Ukraine. But China, they're terrible. We need to go after them. So it's that hypocrisy that we're seeing with this whole situation where, the FBI sucks now, but let's continue supporting the police. And so it's all of that I think is important to point out. And also the fact that was mentioned by Caleb, people are losing trust in the system. Yes, that is happening. Whether they wanted it to or not, that is happening because even the people who really support the system, who are like saying, we got to follow the law, we have a system here, we love our Constitution. Those people are watching this happen and they're like, wait a minute, this doesn't seem fair. This seems like you're swaying things, like you have a political calculation you're trying to do. And they're losing those people. They're losing people who are pro-establishment at this point. And we kind of talked about this with Kim the other day, right? Like, the establishment is no longer becoming, for long, the popular narrative. For the longest time, the established narrative was the popular narrative, right? You'd be saying what the establishment said would make you popular. You would have more people believe you. That is no longer the case. And the only reason it seems like there's still power to it is because they use every mechanism to censor all of us in independent media. They smear us, they censor us, they shut us down. And and they have all the media, they have all the money, they have all the big tech, So that's the only reason it seems like that's still the prevailing narrative, but it really isn't. And I think that's an important shift we're seeing that I think is worth pointing out, that is added to this whole thing with Donald Trump.
Well, let's get into the team sport aspect of it, fam. You might recognize that I have my hat on because I don't know if you know this, fam. Just like Fidel Castro, I'm a newspaper guy, right? And newspaper guys go over to newspaper because they want to understand the propaganda and how it's coming at them.
Hey, fam.
Yes, fam.
Petition to have Pasta play Fidel Castro over James Franco.
I can do a better part. So, you know, or Batista over Zach Galifianakis. But fam, I put down this. How does the government? We can put it up now. How does the government? Let me get my thing.
What
up.
slide?
Well, it was removed. Where is it? Here it is. Just came back in. How does the media and the government manufacture, then keep you consumed with this distraction? Very carefully, fam. Step one, have one side claim the FBI director was a Trump appointee, while the other side claims that the FBI planted evidence with zero proof, fam. Here's the article from today in the RJ. I'm just going to point out the part because every single article did this. The American left wants to manufacture consent, so they always make sure they point out. Here it is. It says, though no Biden White House said it had no prior knowledge to the current FBI director, Chris Wray, he was appointed by Trump 5 years ago, fam. And you can see here's the first tweet from Aaron Rapar. Trump personally picked the current FBI director. There comes Fox News, fam, with their conspiracy. This is a Trump appointee, and I want everybody to remember that. That's a Trump appointee. And what does the right do, fam? Every single step of the way. There's no, they said, okay, the lawyers weren't allowed to be in the room while the FBI raided the thing. So what does the right say? Here they go. Breaking report. Trump suggests FBI could have planted evidence during a 10-hour-long PowerFlex raid at Mar-a-Lago. His team was blocked from watching. The DOJ wanted security cameras turned off. Melania's wardrobe was ransacked, fam. And this is just a micro sample, fam, because there are so many people on the right that are saying that they planted evidence on the Trump. Here comes the team sports, team's red. And then on team left, what are you talking about? This is a Trump's appointee, fam. Fam, Trump picked this guy. What does that mean?
Yeah. This is why this is why I think this whole thing is just made exactly for that whole, what is it? Not MMA, but
MMA.
What is the rest? Is it MMA?
World Wrestling Federation.
WWF.
Yeah.
WWF.
It's the WWE now, but yeah. The Panda's got the WWF. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Pandas.
The WWE is what ended up with where Donald Trump is a Hall of Famer inaugurated into the WWE Hall of Fame. He was an actor. Yeah. That was his testing grounds, and he did well. So one side, it's Trump's appointee. The other side, they planted evidence. And step two, fam, and this is already here. Have one side claim the FBI has already seized classified evidence which merits the raid, and then the other side will call for the abolishment or the defunding of the agency from a group of voters, fam, and lawmakers who've done nothing but praise law enforcement. Now, fam, now they want to get rid of the FBI. Well, okay. All right. So here's the left. I don't understand the media kerfuffle, I hate that word, about the DOJ silent on the Trump FBI search. We have info. It was related to the boxes of records he took from the White House, which we know is a violation of law. The man was impeached twice, fam, and there's an active January 6th DOJ investigation. But once again, the video we played showed this is about they've already got classified information from Donald Trump. The media just throws that out there. Now, we don't understand what's going on there. He could have declassified the information, whatever the case may be, but they're using that to manufacture consent to say that this raid is merited. Now, the right, what do they do, fam? And this is the part that will make you laugh your ass off, right? Here it is. Dan Bongino, Bongino. I should know how to say this Italian guy. Like, and this is a guy who I've seen Dan before, like on TV when my mom has watched him. If his mother lived in my mom's development and stuff, I'd probably see him, say hi, make sure we had each other's phone numbers exchanged. I'm not down for his policies and his ideology, but he seems like a pretty straight guy, whatever, whatnot. Well, now he's calling for the next U.S. president to fire everyone involved with the FBI raid on Trump's Florida estate. Right now, all of a sudden, they want accountability. Now, after funding this, clapping, cheering, funding it on, the police can do no wrong. Now, Dan wants them gone. And fam, I got a video from him on Fox on Jesse Waters. I wish we had a bell that you can hear, which sounds like the Democrats when they say we have to stop the impending fascism. Watch what Dan says over here. This is going to trip you out. You're going to love this one.
Let's go to Dan Bongino, the host of Unfiltered on Saturday nights. Dan, your quick emotional reaction. I think everyone's a little emotional here about this raid.
Yeah, I mean, you think? This is some third world bullshit right here. Let me say it again. Third world bullshit. I mean every word of that. I don't care that it's cable news. I was a federal agent. I raised my right hand, and I swore to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, and I love this country. This is a freaking disgrace. A disgrace. We don't live in Cuba. We don't live under Kim Jong-un. We live in a constitutional republic, a representative democracy. You have a bunch of FBI agents raiding the home of a former president because they don't like his politics? Are you kidding me? You've spent this whole show, Jesse, and I've spent my entire time either on Fox or on my podcast exposing the left for claiming Russia interfered in an election as Hillary Clinton paid off a bunch of foreign agents, her team literally to fabricate a story that occupied the nation for 4 years. What's she doing right now? Getting a manicure in freaking Chappaqua. She's not doing squat. Nothing. Hunter Biden is having sex on tape while doing crack. And what is he doing? He's living in a Malibu mansion. And yet the president, the former president, who, whether you agree with him or not on his claims about the election, whether you agree or not, we still live in a country where you are allowed to challenge an election. There's even a process, the ECA, the Electoral Count Act. You may not like it, but it's a process. How do I know it's a process? Because some people are trying to reform it. You may not like it, but now you send the FBI. Let me tell you something. I have paid due deference to the FBI for a long time, and a lot of listeners didn't like it because I work with some very good people over there who have since retired. The management of the FBI has now shredded any single sliver of credibility this agency had left. Nobody will take them seriously from this point on. It is over. You've heard the examples. Stone, Manafort, Cohen, over and over. Are they good guys? Are they bad guys? I don't know. I don't care. I don't know them. All I'm telling you is you cannot tell me we still live in a constitutional republic and not the freaking third world when you have Hillary Clinton paying foreign agents to interfere with an election, people lying under oath repeatedly, Hunter Biden doing crack on tape, and what happens? Where are the federal agents? They're not in Malibu. They're not in Chappaqua. They're in Mar-a-Lago. This is some third world garbage that happened tonight. And I'm telling you, the FBI management, here's a solution. Last thing. We have now got to win in 2022. You have no choice now, folks. Oh, we don't like the swampy Republicans. I don't like them either. Republicans may not be the solution to your problems, but Democrats are certainly the cause of all your problems right now. If there was ever a clarion call to remove your ass from the seat and go vote in 2022, this is it.
Fam, there it is. There it is. We have to vote Republican. The lesser of two evil ideology. Dan, why don't you have some balls, grow a set, and tell somebody to vote third party? And now all of a sudden, all of those names, now they don't have a shred. Now it's just mismanagement, fam. It's the same thing.
No, Dan. No, wait a minute.
You just got to get the right management in there. Our institutions are fine. It's the institution itself, Dan. The FBI is a corrupt, psychotic warmongering pieces of shit. Go ahead.
If we're not a constitutional republic, why do you assume your elections are fair? Why are you telling people to vote if you're saying that this entity that's supposed to demand the law be followed is not fair? Why are you just telling people to vote then? Like, I'm sorry, I don't, not even third party, because we don't have fair elections. So I like this whole logic of saying, oh yes, you just need to vote harder now because Democrats are awful, is just as bad as when the freaking dumbass Democrats come and say, hey, you just need to vote harder because this is the beginning, like Nina Turner, of defeating fascism. No, this is what I mean. Like, this is bullshit. This is just a complete and total distraction, because now we're discussing this and still none of this. Trump will be fine. Biden will be fine. Democrats will be fine. Hillary will be fine. We will not be fine. The American people will not be fine. Like, that's the whole point. And like the whole, we're not Cuba. Cuba has fair elections, bro. Yeah. I hate to be the bringer of bad news, but hey, actually, I will make sure they do. Like, I will, we'll go to Cuba next and we'll report on that. But I mean, from what I've seen, these third world countries, right, have better elections. So this is some third world country bullshit. No, this is some American, United States of American bullshit.
Yep. Amen.
This is the United States of fucking America. Stop blaming other countries that have a completely different ideology, a completely different politics. This is why you were so proud to live in this country, right? Because it's not a communist country. It's not a socialist country. It's not China. It's not Cuba. It's not Russia. So why are you comparing it? Why are you saying this is like as if this stuff that's happening here is their fault, when we are the people that are doing this to you are your own fucking government? Start taking responsibility for the fact that this is your wonderful capitalist government that you have long supported via the FBI, via the national security state, via the CIA, via the police, all of that. That is our doing. That is this capitalist system, this free market economy that's supposed to be working so great. So take responsibility. If this is shit right now, it's because of this country, the people running this country, which it's not the American people. We know that. It's not even the idiotic president that we have in charge. It is really doing it this way. So first of all, let's take responsibility for that before we start talking about Cuba and other countries, because you don't have to like Cuba or China or anybody else or their ideology, but start cleaning your own house, as Pasta likes to say.
Yeah. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, this is about bad management. We need to just get better management. Let's get the Democrats out. Let's get the Republicans in and everything will be fine. But they were abusive and they were awful for under any administration, and how many of these mass shootings that we always say, well, let's take a look at the shooter. How have they been in contact with the FBI? So many times they have. It's like these guys can't do their job. And now we've come full circle, fam, because here's Marjorie Taylor Greene, your girl, defund the FBI. Damn, defund the FBI. I mean, are you... Like, I'm sorry, but yeah, I get it. Let's do that, whatnot. But they're not really going to be about defunding the FBI. And I get it. Like, look, when a lot of people with the whole January 6th thing, we had all these people now, election integrity activists. Of course, now they're here. We get them in the right area. But I still think it's a little bit more of a fugaziness that they're just saying this stuff. At the end of the day, they just believe it's a management issue. Like Steve said, let's take it a step forward. Don't defund them. Let's abolish them. Fam, what do you got for Marge?
I didn't. You put this there. Well, I talked about this whole situation, right? And I'm seeing the hypocrisy on both ends, like I mentioned. And I said the FBI shouldn't have raided Trump's house, but and Republicans are shouting defund the FBI are hypocrites, but they largely support the police. But I mean, this is a political hit job, guys. They don't have evidence. As you've seen, it's just a bunch of propaganda, and it's a bunch of, well, January 6th investigations are ongoing, and this is Donald Trump, and blah, blah, blah. So it's the same type of back and forth bullshit. And I mean, I'm so glad that we talked about Nina Turner, because to me, you quote tweeted this one, but I quote tweeted the beginning of fascism one, because we're not in any way, shape, or form defeating fascism by giving more power to a corrupt agency. You mother freaking idiots. Like, what the hell? How is giving more power to the FBI under this administration, that is one of the most corrupt administrations, it'll go down in history as one of the worst administrations in like the worst presidents in the history of the United States. How is that defeating fascism? Yeah. I don't understand.
Well, the whole thing is that if you want to be like critical of, you know, the Republicans now for doing this and saying, you know, look at her tweet. It says, my prediction is that the fallout of the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago. The other one, you have mine up.
No, you had it up.
Yeah, right there. The fallout of the FBI raiding Mar-a-Lago is that we're probably going to see a bunch of MAGA Republicans call to abolish the FBI. Well, a bunch of the MAGA people are the majority of the Republican Party. So stop trying to separate them. Like the Lincoln Project did some fucking good work, and there's this whole bunch of Republicans. I wish the Republicans would just be Republicans again, fam. Remember that whole thing with freaking Nancy Pelosi? No, you just wish there were a bunch of establishment hacks that didn't push back against you and cause you so much.
We need a stronger Republican Party.
Yeah, and I asked, I said, so are you endorsing the FBI? Because at the end of the day, it should have been like, oh, all right, now you guys want to come and you want to yell at the FBI. Well, it's about time. I'm glad it just took for your boy getting busted before you opened your eyes. But they're not. These people, and especially the establishment of the Democratic Party, AOC, the squad, they go on mainstream media all the time. They're part of the whole system. They're part of this whole thing. And on these mainstream media channels like MSNBC, they have ex-spooks all the time. Clapper, Brennan, whatnot. You guys are pro-security state. You guys are pro-intelligence community now, all because Donald Trump blew your fucking brains out. Step 3, fam. Have one side always, fam. And I mean always bring it back to January 6th. And then the other side, well, you know the drill, fam. This is communism. So here.
You need to write this one out, fam. You need to tweet this one out because that one's good. The 3 steps are very good.
I will get that. Number 3 right here. Fam, because you know I'm a newspaper guy like Fidel. I'm just going to read the last part of this. From the echoes of Watergate to the more immediate House probe on January 6th, Donald Trump's thing got raided. It's like they got to always mention January 6th and this whole situation. At the end of the day, fam, it's about sedition. It's about them being awful. And here it is in The Guardian, too, as well. Democrats who have pushed for the department to bring criminal charges against the former president for his role in January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol welcomed the raid. And that was from The Guardian. It is horrible. It's a horrible precedent for the Department of Justice to investigate a former president of the United States, said Congressman Ted Lieu, a Democrat from California.
Oh, God.
Who was a manager during Trump's second impeachment trial. So they gave you a double doozy on this one, fam. They had to mention his impeachment, which meant nothing for the phone call to Zelensky, right? Right? The only worst president would be for the Justice Department to not investigate because the person happens to be a former president. No one is above the law. And this is a guy standing up for the Hillary Clinton party over there, fam. And of course, we got to show the idiocracy of the right to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Save America, fam. Stop communism. Impeach Joe Biden. Can you please explain to the audience out there, fam, that Joe Biden is not nearly near a communism? Because it's very important, because hear this at the end of the day with all these people complaining, even my new libertarian friends out there, dude, like this, we live in a capitalist system. Joe Biden is a capitalist. So if you're going to sit there and argue about systems, you have a system that's in play right now that has bought up everything, that has lobbyists and lobbied the freaking country dry because we have no more money. We have no assets, no nothing, the middle class. Everybody's working for low ass fucking wages and shit like that. So if it's going to be about communism, why don't you explain your way out of capitalism that has almost 100,000 homeless people on the streets?
Oh, I can't. This is fucking hilarious. Save America, stop communism, impeach Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, a communist.
Marjorie, I wish, honey. I wish. He's not. He's a Republican. He's like a neocon Republican. Joe Biden. I mean, he's not. So is Kamala.
He's the
Like Kamala is
establishment.
that like they're establishment, old school type of neocon Republicans that are in I mean, and they're not in charge. We know who's in charge. A bunch of war criminals, warmongers, imperialists. Again, I have to go back to the fact that this is the United States of America that embraces capitalism. We are imposing imperialism in the rest of the world. It's not communism. I mean, how can it be when you have gloated for so long about how great America is because it's not communist? So now all of a sudden, when things are bad, you just stick the label and say, oh, they're bringing communism and this is communism. No, this has nothing to do with communism. And again, you don't have to like the fucking ideology, libertarians, anarchists. You don't have to like communism, but this is fucking stupid. This is like, it's just ignorant. And this is what they do, Pasta. This is what they live off of. You got the Marjorie Taylor Greens and you got the AOCs, because the AOCs are just as bad, because they'll be like, oh yes, Trump is a fascist and this is the beginning of defeating fascism. And they, you know, they use fascism like it's fucking water. They label it on everything, right? And everybody's a fascist. Everybody's a communist on the right and everybody's a fascist on the left. It's like, shut the fuck up. You guys don't know the definition of these words. You literally do not. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're weaponizing, throwing these words to fucking set up an agenda and to have this whole culture war bullshit with each other. At the end of the day, neither party is a solution because they're two cheeks of the same buttocks, and you're still gonna get shit from them. That's it. You're literally, and I don't mean to be so graphic, but that's essentially what you're going to get, and nothing is going to change. It's just hilarious.
Yeah. Fam, who is this coming up next? Do you want to say her name for us, please?
Sugar Bear?
Sugar Bear, fam. So you know they want to ask Sugar Bear. KJP, Karine Jean-Pierre, KJP. So they asked her about, and this is something they asked all the time. Isn't Donald Trump weaponizing the Justice Department? Isn't Donald Trump appointing so many, judges? Isn't Donald Trump, using it as his personal hit squad? Well, let's hear KJP answer the same question in the White House press corps secretary. Go ahead.
Is there a concern here that if you guys don't say more, then these Republicans who are accusing this White House of weaponizing the Justice Department, weaponizing the FBI, that's going to become the public sentiment? If you guys don't say once and for all, we are not doing that.
First of all, we're just not going to comment on the Department of Justice investigation.
Okay,
we're just not going to comment on that.
Is this White House weaponizing the Justice Department and the FBI against political opponents?
The president has been very clear from before he was elected, very clear on this. Hold on. Throughout his time in office.
I heard the quote. We will be playing the quote tonight at 6 o'clock. Is this administration weaponizing the Justice Department and the FBI against political opponents?
Peter, the president believes in the rule of law. The president believes in the independence of the Department of Justice.
That's a yes or no?
No, it's a yes or a no for you. I'm answering the question. You may not like it, but I'm answering the question, and I'm answering the question, and I'm telling you that we are not going to comment on a criminal investigation. The president has been very clear. I laid out what his thoughts were back on January 7th in 2021 about how he saw the Department of Justice. And I'm just going to leave it there. We're not going to comment from here, from this White House, on a criminal investigation that is currently happening.
Fam, I love that one. She always says, we're not going to comment. I'm going to walk over there and I'll make a comment when it's not near the microphone or the camera. But from over here, fam, we're not making any comment whatsoever. We got nothing to say. And the FBI...
The president believes in the rule of law.
Yeah.
The president believes in the rule of law, possibly.
Especially for his own son, Hunter. the cartoon giveth, right? And the cartoon taketh, but mostly it giveth, and it giveth a lot. You said it the other day.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wish anybody could just do crack on video and it just be fine, right? Everybody go try it and see what happens. I mean, don't try it, guys.
Yeah, please don't. No party affiliation leader. Okay. The guy who ran the fake Whitmer case, then promoted to the DC to run the January 6th investigation, has now run the Mar-a-Lago raid. Incredible. Detroit's top FBI agent promoted to the DC field office. And this guy was promoted, Stephen D. Antuano, fam. He was named the chief of Detroit's FBI office years ago. And then he got promoted to the head of Washington field office. From the Bureau. The FBI director, Chris Wray, made the announcement on Tuesday, just several days after Antuano's agents and state police busted up a plot to abduct Dr. Gretchen Whitmer. His official new title is Assistant Director in Charge. Now, fam, I want to remind you that they dropped this case because they had way more feds involved in the case with Whitmer than they did actual freaking Boogaloo Boys or whatever one it was. I don't even know. Because the story is all over the place. At the end of the day, there was way more FBI agents, and the judge had to go like, we're going to pass on this one since there's so many goddamn FBI agents involved. There's more agents than suspect. They had to walk away from it. Now here's Ted Cruz, fam. And once again, not a big Ted Cruz guy, especially when it comes to his issues when dealing with the global Latin South. But here he is. He's growing FBI Director Chris Frey on why the FBI special agent in charge who oversaw the Whitmer capping incident was promoted to the DC FBI field office and is handling the JC investigation.
My favorite Gusano.
In Michigan. That case ended up an absolute debacle where the 4 people who went to trial, 2 of them were acquitted, 2 received mistrials. None of them were convicted on even a single charge, and the basis of the defense was entrapment, that the FBI, that paid enforcements for the FBI, had suggested and had incited the conduct. Let me ask you, how many FBI agents were disciplined or reprimanded after that disastrous case and the misconduct that led to every defendant being acquitted or having a mistrial on every charge?
Senator, I can't comment on any personnel matter. I can tell you that case, as I understand it, is now pending a retrial, as I understand it.
Well, the special agent in charge of that case has now been sent to D.C., to the Washington, D.C. office, and now leads the investigation regarding January 6th. Is that correct?
That doesn't sound right to me.
That does not sound right. The name of the individual is Stephen D'Antuono. He was run out of the FBI Detroit field office. And by the way, I will point out that the lead investigator, Special Agent Track, are you aware that he was apparently fired for allegedly beating his wife after coming home from a swingers party, and he'd made multiple derogatory political posts about President Trump showing political bias? Are you aware of that?
I am aware of, I think, the incident you're describing and action that was taken about it. To clarify on the first part of your question, Mr. D'Antuono was the special agent in charge of the office, the Detroit field office, and is now the assistant director in charge of the Washington field office. I thought you were asking about the agent who was responsible for these.
So the guy in charge got promoted and is now in charge of the January 6th investigation.
The guy in charge of the whole Detroit field office is now in charge of the whole Washington field office.
That is astonishing.
Technically, fam, no. The guy in charge of the whole Detroit. We gave him all of DC, but it's got nothing to do, even though he was kind of the head of what that case where not one person got convicted of, not one person got sent to jail over that freaking phony case where the news just ran with it. They just ran with it, right? And how many people with the whole anti-Boogaloo Boy mentality because of that? And it was all a fugazi, fam. It was all a fake. And this guy got promoted. Why? Because he got promoted for doing his job what he was told to do behind closed doors, not what's told to the public. That's why, fam. Because this whole thing is a bunch of malarkey. No pun intended.